Yo, yo! Welcome to yet another episode of the Cosmic Adults. Cosmic Fam, welcome.
What is up, guys? What is up? Cosmic Adults back in town, back in business. We're doing another episode. I think it should be a pretty darn good one.
Yeah,
We
I
have
agree.
a topic prepared, which we don't usually do at all.
Like never. No. I don't know if you guys can tell, but we're basically making it up as we go.
Just click record.
There's no plan.
Just trust in the God and the universe and the forces. And but this time we brought a little bit of a topic because this has been very prevalent in my life, and I would say, Mercedes can speak for herself. And the topic itself is a lot to do with knowing when to let go. And also within that topic, we have like subtopics, because to know when to let go, we need to learn to differentiate the mind babble, like almost like these learned patterns that we've been taught, we've lived through, the things that we think that we should do, and then the other side of the coin, which is the deeper side, which is the part where 100% that you should be doing this. And this is what we're going to discuss, and this is what we're going to at least start off with. I have a story. Should I just go with it and you will?
Hell yeah, dude. There are no rules here. I don't know if you recall that.
The Cosmic Freedom Adults, almost. Okay.
Yeah. I'm actually really excited to hear your story because you came up with, like, you're presenting this topic, so I'm like, immediately my brain starts going like, ooh, what's the story behind the topic? I'm very excited.
So this topic is about literally cutting off a person in my life. And this is obviously a topic that I think right now, when I'm looking at, let's say, the astrological energies and everything that is going on, I think many people are understanding, especially people who are more insensitive, more intuitive, more empathetic, more psychic, whatever you want to put the label on it. People are coming into their own. A lot of people are understanding what bullshit has been done to them, what hurts have been done to them, how they've been misused, abused, and they're kind of putting the stamp down of like, or boundary down of like, okay, so yes, this might have gone over well in the future, or not well, but just gone over in the future. But now I'm just like, I'm done. I don't want it anymore, and I want a different life, and I want to choose differently. But like, this is where the little bit of a but comes in, obviously, is sometimes these people are very close to us. They are members of our family, sometimes extreme cases, spouses, there are children, there are a lot of things involved there. It's a little bit of a intense situation at times. And this is where, especially it becomes important to start differentiating between those voices, because if it's somebody so close to you and there is a pattern between the two of you that let's say, maybe you've observed, but you haven't done anything, but now you've observed it for long enough and you want to do something about it. But the problem becomes that you are accustomed to doing this constantly or every time, and now you're actually, the truth of you is wanting to do this, but like now the change becomes so big because they're so close. There have been maybe many years. The mind has, it's programmed to protect you as well, so it starts to become, or starts to create stories that you should not do this, you should just keep it up, you should be safe, you should be, what we know is safe, what we don't know exactly is not so safe. But like, this is where the deeper part comes in again, is like, but you have to do this, you have to do this, and this is the fight between the almost like the logical. I don't want to say the logical is only bad, definitely not. It serves us in a lot of ways, but like this part is maybe not the logical, the learned ways.
I would love to say maybe like the earthly way, the more lower energy center way, and then moving up into the higher, because really the unknown is where all the magic is happening. But we have like that earthly fear.
We definitely have. And, you know, in those fears, or in those earthly fears, or in that more usually the left brain kind of fears, there are things of what they will think about me, what they will say about me if I make this big decision, and what will that mean for me moving, forward.
Exactly. Because truly we're stepping out of the logical self and into the magical self.
That's a that's a
Mm.
that's a Pisces, that's a Pisces thing. Like Pisces meat on it. Let's
Yeah, all the Pisces got together and we decided that's how we're gonna talk.
It's like we sprinkle some magic dust, But anyway, but basically, yes, we can definitely say that, because what is awaiting us here is, the other side is liberation, and usually it is, magical, because even from my own personal, this is where the story comes in, or starts to come in. I won't share all the details, but it has become evident for me that I need to make some big changes regarding a person in my life, and it's a big decision. It's a huge decision, I would say, and I've literally almost 3 to 4 days been in that place of this part that keeps telling me no, 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 you should give another chance, and this other part is so firm in the place of no, please stop doing the same mistake over and over again. And it's showing me even these things that happened in the past,
Yeah. I'm gonna pull an Ian and say I mostly agree with that.
Oh, nice. That is me.
I mostly agree, because I think that this bigger part is yes, calling for that, but it's also calling for you to value yourself more. It's calling for you to lift yourself up.
This is where I 100% agree. That
Ah.
I have that part. The Libra has that part as well. I definitely, can
100p.
100p agree here.
Okay, tell the story, Ian. No more beating around the bush. Let's get into the healing of it.
Well, I can tell a little bit about. I don't, because it's so
you don't
raw.
want to tell the whole thing.
I don't want
of
to
course.
tell the whole thing, but the gist of the matter is, it was let's say a meeting with a person in my life that got really out of hand, and the energetic and weird, strange, controlling, manipulating blame was first time all directed towards me, and it really sent me to a deep questioning. Obviously, it not triggered me, but it charged something within myself, and I had to look at many things, like many years of this similar pattern happening constantly. It kind of like the light bulbs went on. I was like, oh my god, this has been happening constantly all the time, basically. And I had glimpses, and I had this knowing before that, but this being so straight up in my face was the thing that really made it click. And one of the things that I've understood through this process of this part and that part is this part feels like it's almost like not only feeling, but it's like when I think about like the forgiveness and just, oh, you just let it go and just let it be, and just, basically do the same thing over again, and it will repeat, maybe in 3 years, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 5 years, whatever it is. When I think about this part, it's like there's this huge contraction within my consciousness, within my being. And when I think about this part, there's openness, there's liberation, there's like freedom of who I am and as a person. And I think this is one of the things that is making this bigger decision a little bit easier for me, is the sensation and liberation and freedom. It's like finally becoming free from that control, manipulation, just being responsible for somebody else's emotions, which this story is about. It's a lot about the being responsible constantly for somebody's emotional life or an emotional happiness that I personally shouldn't be responsible of. But as a young child, I was, almost like, you could say, tricked into it. But as a young child, you're just doing your all to survive. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my god, I may be recognizing some of this, oh, I've been responsible for somebody's emotional life or somebody's emotional happiness, then don't be too hard on yourself as well, because this shit happens more than you know. And it's possible to become liberated from that. You just have to make those decisions, and you have to actually use your will as well, your like very practical will. I'm going to do this, I'm making this happen. And I'm almost at the other side of it. I feel like I'm like 95% or 95.
You are on the
close.
cusp. You're on the cusp
That's
of it.
the word.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah. So it's still it feels a little entangled a little bit still.
Yeah.
My question in this is like, do you feel that your spiritual gifts and sight and abilities became played a part here in this?
100%, 100p. I agree wholeheartedly. And there are many layers. There are many layers actually to this, because I think one of the things that actually happened was because of this pattern was repeating in my life. This is one of the reasons I even, maybe developed some of these gifts, during my childhood. But later on now, it's almost like, it's like, I'll give you a really concrete example. You're sitting with that person, and you can, in your body, even in your consciousness, even here, higher up here, in your even thoughts, you can dial into the thoughts, and you feel this very, very tight grip, very tight contracting. Almost, you can, you obviously, for the more sensitive, more in tune ones, you can see it, you can tune into what is happening with that other person and how that energy is directed towards you. And but it's sometimes still very, very difficult to make that decision of like, okay, I'll make that decision based on that. Because guys, obviously you can make a decision based on that, but for me personally, I almost needed that material or physical interaction with that person in order for me to make that decision much easier. It's almost like this is where the logical or left brain comes in. It's like, oh, now I have almost like an excuse or justification or a proof is the better word. The proof is the better word here. I finally have the proof of that is happening. It's like, oh, the intuitive self was, picking up on it for a long time. And now it's like, oh, it was correct.
Well, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that because I have a friend who, and I think, okay, I'm gonna kind of zoom out like a little bit from your situation and just bring in like something else. A friend of mine, their partner was cheating on them for a long time, like a long time.
And the
And they
new.
were like, they knew intuitively, but kept being like, no, 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 no. And then when finally the proof and everything was like right in their face, it was like they felt almost relief
Mm,
because, and they almost felt like the compass was righted. And it was like, oh, I was right, and it,
mm,
it, it was that confirmation that the intuitive part is real. And then what to do with that information past that that's the next, challenge and initiation. I want to say initiation because,
mm,
especially these bigger events in our life, I feel that those are initiations. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to go into the higher and the more light and the bigger? Or are you going to choose again to be, living in this practical reality 3D world, basically continuing to play the game, be the actor, whatever? Or are you going to start, you know, valuing yourself, moving higher, becoming more light, and in the end helping people too? Because I think that's really ultimately what it's all about. That I think that's, why we go through, I feel that's why I've gone through a lot of situations, is so that I can later on tell a story and maybe help someone else out. Maybe someone else doesn't have to be cheated on for years. Maybe someone else can make that decision a little earlier.
a Hondo P here for this segment. I couldn't resist. I had to. Oh,
Freaking love it. And then I think my own maybe story to be I'm still laughing. I don't have I have nothing prepared. Okay, because ultimately what we're bringing this back to is the letting go and knowing when the time is to do that, right? So for me, it was like I was in this relationship for a long time and everything was good, good, not great. It was like good, not great, always good, not great. And then when there was an engagement ring and they asked me to marry them, and I remember seeing the ring and they were like, "Oh, will you marry me?" And I was like, in my head, the first thing I thought was no. and but out loud, I was like, yeah, and like, oh wow, they should be happy. And it was a happy day. I was happy and all this stuff, but the I ignored that first no, and I ignored a lot of no's along the way. But then finally, once it got to be like too much, and then those the pivotal events or whatever, for me it was like, um I had planted a bunch of seedlings for a garden and I had put so much love into it, and I was like, oh frick, this is gonna be cool. Like I just took care of all these little babies and gonna watch them grow into big beautiful plants. And this person was at home and I was at work all the time, and they refused to open up the greenhouse thing that all the seedlings were in, so it got too hot in there and everything died. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. That's the final no. And then since then, everything in my life that was really crappy reversed, and everything's gotten way better since then. So I think for me, the intuitive voice of the no, the watch it, the that's just always in there, that feeling, I would let go sooner rather than later at this point. I would choose myself. I would choose to value myself more always. I mean I have been.
so many questions arise from my consciousness. First of all, why did they refuse? Because it's such a small thing. I've done it myself. It's a very small task to do. No idea.
I've I Quite frankly, I thank them.
Because the second part of this was for me, because that was the catalyst in the end, but it was, from somebody looking out or looking to the inside from the out is like, that's not a big deal, but it was the constant things before that.
Yes.
Of
That
like
was just
almost
the
like
final, the not closing cupboard doors, the leaving a mess everywhere, the arguing with me and my intuition all the time. Hey, let's do this. Why? Because I fucking feel to. Like, what? Do you not trust me? Do you think I'm like leading you into a dark pit? Like, no, I care about you and I want us to do good things in this life. So like you think I'm trying to harm you? It was constant like making me doubt myself and all these different things, like really, really screwed up the internal compass there. I've had to really spend a lot of time. I felt like I couldn't trust myself. And actually, so in speaking with my counselor about this, what she said was that I downplayed a complicated situation. And so I was constantly downplaying things that were big deals. And I was like, oh, no, it's fine. Oh, no, it's fine. Because I thought I could handle it. And I thought that, relationships are hard work and you just got to keep plugging along and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, at some point you just realize it's not actually the right thing for you. And you just unplug and it's fine. It's fine to move on from something. Like, and just because you change one thing doesn't mean you have to change everything. Your life will carry on, you will survive. And I mean, you just look at all the past situations that you've been in that you have had to let go and you have had to move on and you did have to choose yourself. Would you go back and not choose yourself? Like, no. And the universe is always wanting to support you and wanting to bring new good things. Like the universe isn't like, I don't think of God as the guy in the sky that wants to freaking smite you and burn you in hell because you did something a little bit bad. It's more about wanting to provide new and good and joyous things and become one, really. And we get to play around in this fun little Disneyland.
Fun little avatar, yeah.
Little avatar land, yeah. And we get to learn these things. We get to. It's a gift.
Yeah. Just a few, like a little small teaching, guys, if you, let's say, are in a place of like, well, how do I start trusting this thing? Like, what are the exact steps? I would start small. I actually started small myself, and then moved on to bigger things like relocating to Fuerteventura, a fucking island. Like, because I want to tell this story because your story reminded me of this, of like, because the first island we were supposed to move is Tenerife, actually, which is another Canary island. And we were like very almost like sold on that island, and we were looking for places, and we were looking, oh, so what are we going to do? And nothing, all the tickets and everything, or nothing was working in that moment. Like it was like, oh, this and that, and then I was like sitting in my office, and I was like, so what is happening here? What is this telling us, or what is this telling me, and what should we do, and how do we move about this? And a random, I say, like a random, yeah, exactly, quote unquote, Facebook group post caught my eye, and I was like, I didn't even know why. I wasn't something I didn't really click on or something like that. And I clicked on it. The intuition was like, click on it, go into it. Okay, I'll go into it. And it was a post about another island, this one that we're now on. And it was the entire vibe of that group, first and foremost, was totally different. Like the group of the other island was like, I didn't like that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And that group was entirely different. And I was like, oh my God, okay, so this is the reason why they brought me here. And I started gradually like going through it and looking at things, looking at other things, looking at housing, and everything was like, oh my God, it feels so much better. It makes so much more sense. Then I went to my partner, I had to kind of like convince her a little bit because it was a little bit of a wilder decision. And
Mm-hmm.
then once she was on board, everything moved really quickly. Tickets,
Mm.
housing, all the help, all the real estate thing, everything started moving. And it was like, okay, so this is
That's the
probably
way.
that's the way to go.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, everything that's for you, you won't be able to avoid it. You just won't. You can try, but um my little exercise that I started with was I was like, okay, for the next hour, I will follow my intuition exactly. Like I will do everything and I would like set a timer and be like, "Okay, 1 hour." And it would be like I would go longer than an hour because it was always so fun. Like it was always like, "Oh
Exactly.
my God, this day just became so amazing." Um so yeah, I mean the little voice inside. I think that's your little friend. The voice that's like an asshole to you, that's not your friend. That's that's
Not
that's an
really.
asshole. Yeah.
I have a fun little story about the other side of the coin a little bit here as well, which I discuss in my newsletter, guys. Check that out and subscribe.
Yes.
Little promo
Which
here.
what story is it? Because I get your newsletter.
It's the freedom list. Basically, guys, this is a other side of coin. Like Mercedes said, like it's so fun, and it is. It's freaking amazing. It's like you start to see and things start happening, and it's like, oh my God, it's like the world and life wants the best for me, and good things happening, and awesome. Now, I'm switch it up a little bit now because this is a weird one. This is, I would call, a little bit more advanced
Mm.
because at times the intuition, the inner voice is going to say things that are like, maybe things that you don't want to do, and they feel edgy, and it's like, it's almost like and I just want to clarify, the voice itself isn't anything like bad or just like forceful or it's like it's not like that. For me, it's like the same voice. It's like do this.
I feel like I'm cringing because I'm like, I know what you're talking about exactly. Where it's like, do I have to? Do I really have
Exactly.
to? Do I? Do I?
Exactly. And sometimes you have to ask it like, do I really? Because I don't really want to
Really?
do it.
I really don't want to.
And this
I
this
really don't want to.
this story is about one of those moments in my life that happened recently, and it was a lot to do with relationship, and I was in a conversation, and the intuition was giving me almost like very, very direct advice on what to say.
Mm.
This, and I gave it, and the reaction from the other person was like like all full-blown emotional, everything. And I was sitting there, I was like, fuck. Like, fuck, I could have gone smoothly. I didn't have to say anything, exactly, like. And throughout all of that interaction, or let's say even not an altercation but an argument, um I was still in the place because the information conveyed to me by the other person was you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It was very forceful, and I was like, I was doing my best to be with my guides and be him at the present moment, which was really freaking hard, super hard. And I was like, okay, so do they have a point? Am I wrong about this? Did I say something wrong? And every time I was like, no, this was like super correct, direct. And I had to say another thing, which, later on in the conversation came to me. Once I said that directly, clearly to that other person, everything changed. The energy changed. The person, say, basically, they directly said, you were right. And this is one of the places where I was like, I posted this online on my one of my social media. I think it was Facebook, and I was challenged on it by another person. I was like, no, this is not how you do conversation, and blah 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 blah. They started basically saying that I was wrong. And even then I
They
was like,
they they didn't even mostly agree with you.
no, not at all. Total disagreement. Hundo P disagreement.
Don't you disagree?
But like the moral of the story was like, even in that, I was feeling a little bit edgy, obviously, in a public forum, being disagreed, or somebody challenging me up from the outside, like coming in. No, no. I was challenged. I was feeling raw. I was feeling a little bit weird about it. And I was like, but I remember that guidance, that intuition, that was like literally, even in that madness, that emotional outburst was like, no,
Mhm.
this is correct. This is right. What you said, what you felt, what the intuition, this was totally 100p correct. And like literally the other person finally admitted it. And this is one of the things that I wanted to say. It's like, it's not always going to be like only magical, but it's kind of like magical at the same time as well. It's like a little bit of uncomfortableness there in the argument.
Well, what I'm kind of gathering from that, and what I feel is that this is where having a light heart is helpful. And I feel like one of the things that I've read in the past about like masters and things is like they say travel light. And I take that to mean travel light in the heart, and energy, like to really look inside, like how you did in that even in the midst of being confronted in a hard way, you're still going, am I wrong? And that's, I think, a big thing, because that shows, to me, that shows mastery. That shows mastery over emotion, mastery over even physical, because you're not having a physical reaction to it. It's like, okay, it's more of that objective question, am I wrong? And if the answer is no, the answer is no. And when your heart is light, you get to laugh at these things, and you're not laughing at that person. You're not trying to condemn them for being who they are, but you can see that in their heart, they're not that same lightness. And there's compassion for that. But there's also, inside yourself, there's that lightness and that ability to laugh at an extremely difficult situation, no matter how difficult it is.
Totes. I'm literally. I just want to maybe clarify a little bit, because I definitely can't do this in every situation. I was afterwards. I was amazed that I was able to do it, because usually I'm just like, what? Because this was so much coming my way, and it was like, oh my
Well,
god, what the hell is happening here?
that's very disappointing, because I assumed that you were
Yeah,
perfect
exactly.
and that you can.
One thing I wanted to say about this that helped me in the midst of it was, once I, like you said, the question, I was asking the question, like, am I in the wrong here? And I even thought about, admitting that I was wrong, because if I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong, and I'm done, and I'll apologize, and we will move on, hopefully, if the person is willing and available for that. But every time, the emotion was still coming, and every time I was like, okay, just admit it. Like the thoughts going through my head were like, okay, just admit that you're wrong, and this will be done. But every time I started to open my mouth, there was something stopping me. It's like, no, you're not in the wrong here.
Mhm.
And I stayed firm and just finally said it in a very calm voice, the sentence that changed everything. And everything, it was was fine after that. And I got a tick box in my memory bank that you can trust this voice.
Right. And I think that's the main thing of like following your intuition is like the voices that tell you the truth and that lead you in the way that is a good way. Those are the voices to trust. And it's like stepping stones, right? And again, it's not like you do this all at once. That's like, that would be nice, but that's just not really, in my experience, how it works. You have to take it to the streets. You have to listen to a podcast where you hear this stuff, and then you have to go out in your life and go, I get a little curious. I'm like, okay, that crazy lady, that little Pisces astro chick was saying,
Nice.
was saying freaking that I should follow my intuition for an hour. What's that like? Experiment, have freaking fun.
I actually really love that you can. One of the things I really love, the way you interact with the astrology side of that thing is you can laugh about that side of yourself. And I think it's a really, if you're listening to this and you feel like offended, that I offended the Pisces or meh, it's I make joke. My main things are Libra, Aries, and Leo. I make fun of those signs all the time because it's healthy for my own brain and for my own mind, and it's
Yeah.
yeah. So
But
guys,
I have
chill
a
out.
light heart. I have a light heart.
I would like.
I don't get offended very easily because I know that these things about myself are not true. If someone's
Yeah.
going to say something like crazy to me, I'm like, okay, so it's similar to I haven't even told you about this, but like similar to your
Awesome.
situation where you had a big blow up situation coming at you. I had the same thing happen to me with a family member. And I think it was actually right with the Aries thing that happened. It was like a week ago.
Yeah, Mars moving into Aries and starting
Mars
to
moving into,
conjunct with Jupiter.
yeah. And okay, so here's the thing. So I was like, oh, I went on a trip and I was like, oh, should I stop at this one place on my way home? Logically makes sense. I need this thing. Should stop here. Voice inside, go straight home. Me, I'm like, no, I need this thing. I'm gonna go. And I'm like, oh, in that moment, I was like, I know what I'm doing. Anyway, so I get there and this family member of mine starts freaking out at me. And I'm like, oh God. But it was sort of similar to your experience. It was almost like I wasn't like out of body, but I felt like I was just like, there was no stress. There was no like reaction in my body to all of this that was coming at me. And I was getting yelled at. And it was like I was almost watching with curiosity, like, why are you yelling like this? And some of the things that they were saying was like, were that like, I'm selfish. And when that came at me, I was like, no, I'm not. Like, no. And like part of me, I'm like, just because you don't see my whole life doesn't mean that there aren't selfless things that are happening, because you see this like little tiny version of me that exists in your mind. And that's probably me as a child or something, not the 29-year-old respected healthcare provider. It's like, you see me as this certain thing and you're yelling at me thinking that you're yelling at that person when you're not. And so anyways, it came in and it didn't go in because I was like, the vibration doesn't match. Selfish? Me? Not even close. Not even freaking close on any type of scale. So it made it very easy for me then at that point to really even go deeper into the curiosity, like, why is this happening? It's so interesting. And I was almost laughing. I laughed on the way home after this interaction, and I thought, that was cool. And I was thankful for the situation because I was like, thank you for showing me your truth. All the things that you're saying. And I still don't feel wrong. I don't feel wrong. You know, I won't, what I was being like yelled at for, I can certainly see many different sides of it. And potentially I could have changed behavior, but ultimately nothing bad happened. So I've let it go. And I was told that it was let go by many other people, but apparently it wasn't. So I was getting yelled at for something that had happened almost a month ago. And I was like, my life just moved so fast that I almost even forgot that this happened. Why are you yelling at me and calling me selfish? It's like, that's heaviness in your heart that I will not carry.
Was it, just curious, was it to do with because you weren't acting or doing things as they wanted or desired?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that is one of the places where people start to call people selfish that aren't really selfish.
They wanted me to apologize. And in my opinion, I didn't do anything wrong. And I was like, you can see it however you want. I won't do it again. I also will withdraw myself almost completely from your life. I won't be doing that again. And I won't be doing a lot of things again, including good things, because you don't deserve it. You don't deserve my time and my, like, other people who are receptive to me, they deserve it. They deserve my company and my expertise and my respect. And, you know, and I was told by someone that, what did I say? I was like, I deserve respect. Like I deserve respect. I deserve to be respected. I deserve to be respected in my field, for one. And I deserve to be respected for a lot of the knowledge that I have. And this person said to me, respect isn't given, it's earned. And so again, I say, thank you for telling me that's how you view me. So you don't respect me. Therefore, that makes it very easy for me to walk away. And again, these are close relationships. And if they're listening to this right now, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't, quite honestly, I don't give a shit. I would tell this to their face at this point. But this is not something I would have done 10 years ago. I would have said, you're right, love me. Yeah. Even though these people don't love me. Exactly. They don't love me. They don't love who I am. They don't love the real me. They love, or think that they know love, this version of me that's in their brain. And they want that version to act a certain way.
That's exactly.
Fuck that shit. No, I refuse. I will never do that ever again. I've done that way too much in this life.
That's a huge point. 110 OP something.
110p.
1 TP.
1 TP.
1 TP. 1 TP.
But yeah, anyways, like I will ferociously stand up for myself now. I think especially.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to this point in my life where I'm like, enough. I'm not a child anymore. I don't have to run away and hide and cry and no. What I will do is I will tell my child self that I will protect her, and I will fight to the freaking death for that little child version of me, and I will protect her because she couldn't do it before. She couldn't do it, and she had to do all these like little maneuvers of, oh, you're right, let me give away all my energy to you so that you can do whatever, manifest your garbage fucking pickup truck. I don't give a shit. Like, you know, it's oddly specific.
Oddly specific. There seems to be something there.
I decided that I'm not giving away myself anymore. I will not prostitute myself. That's how I think of it, is like prostituting my own energy for other people who really ultimately don't give a shit. And when you really look into the truth of people's hearts and you use your gift and your gifts and you go, okay, let me see this person. Who is this person? And then all of a sudden you see these dark, nasty things crawling out of their heart and you're like, huh. It's like, maybe not. Perhaps not.
Guys, I really need to, I think what Mercedes is touching here is extremely important, and this starts to tie in everything that we have been speaking about, because one of the reasons that we are so inclined to do that, or even we need to do that in our childhoods, as Mercedes pointed out, in our younger selves, we needed to do that because we needed to get something. We needed to get the survival. Otherwise, we would have been, either left from attention or love, or even in worst case scenarios, food, shelter, etc., etc. So we had to literally maneuver, not manipulate, but adjust and say things we didn't mean, and all these weird things just to survive. And now when we are independent, we have financial stability, we have a career, we have something to, we don't have to get that from them. And most importantly, we don't have to get that love piece, because that's the one of the last ones. If you don't have to get that last drip of love from those people, you finally can be yourself, and you can be free, and you can be just like, okay, so this is how it's going to go. From my end, these are my boundaries, these are my beliefs, these are my understandings of the things. If we can find a middle ground, common ground, great. But if you're going to come at me, fuck off, basically.
Fuck off. I like that. There was right. So there's, I've read a lot of books on trauma as well. And like, I think all of us who are really have been through all these things, that we're really seeking that healing, that deep knowing, that inner peace, I guess. There's a book called Your Body Keeps the Score. Heavy book, fucking epic book, if you can read it. Talks about one key thing with the childhood that I've noticed, and especially in this book, it brings all the science into the brain and trauma, which I love, because I'm a big freaking nerd for that shit. And when we are in situations where we can't get away, where we are stuck, immobilized, bound, whatever, like if you're tied up, or you're in your parents' house, let's say, the trauma, we'll just say traumas. The traumas are much harder to heal, because survival wise, something bad happens over here. Let's say you're chased by a tiger. You get away. Now you move to an area elsewhere where you're safe and you can rest. When you're a little kid and you're in your parents' house, you have literally nowhere to go that's safe. You don't get yelled at by mom and dad and then go to your room and then you're safe. That doesn't exist, because mom and dad can come in your room. It's like, so my point being, though, is that it makes it that much harder. So just understand that and have a lot of compassion for yourself.
Fucking amen. I immediately have a story, because I have stories, a lot of stories.
Yeah. Do it.
I had to literally. Nice. You watched. Awesome.
I did. I watched it. It was so fucking funny.
It's an amazing movie.
It's really. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, go watch Starsky and Hutch with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. It's an amazing comedy movie. But back to my stories. It's a short one. I also had to I didn't read the entire book. I think I read bits and pieces. I read some articles about it, etc., etc. And I had to take it to the streets, basically, that knowledge. And it's really like amazingly true when you get away from those painful places, the places where you feel stuck there, you don't have freedom. It's all you can a little bit release here as well. Obviously some things you can heal and let go of, but once you build that foundation, maybe, you know, very often in our society it's material foundation, so you need to build a material foundation in order to get to a safer space or your own space. In that space you build another safe house or safe home and safe layer of things, and then in that space it's much easier to release. And for me, once I got into that space, oh my god, it was, you know, the things that started releasing, you know, flowing, and my consciousness started understanding. It took that game to a huge another level, total other level. Like I was in WNBA before, and then I moved into the NBA. Okay, I had to do it. I couldn't. Oh god.
So you're saying you went pro?
Of course, the WNBA. I don't have anything against it. It's just a little bit of an inside joke between me and Mercedes as well. But you know, basically, I went. You know, I felt like I went a little bit. The healing game and my own safety game really took a next step. You know, huge step forward. So if you're, let's say, listening to this and you're like stuck and you're like, like, where do I start? Because I know I have these things and I have these traumas and I have this pain. So how do I release? So first thing I would do is like, am I in a, you know, financially at least a somewhat stable place? Is the home environment somewhat okay and safe? If not, freaking, these are the things you need to focus on and solve immediately, and put the pressure on, or not pressure, but like solve it.
Well, and I think also like one of the things that I would say is like every time I've been like backed into a corner or like felt like I was trapped or stuck or whatever, the universe has always come through once I made the decision to change. Once I actually made the decision, no, this isn't right for me. I need to move on and I'm actually done. Like, and the energy of like being done happens, everything opens up in the direction that I'm meant to go. So if you feel trapped and stuck, you know, what's it really going to cost you to make a decision? Not too much. Might cost you your old life, but isn't that what you want?
Yeah. I have to make that decision, guys. Important decision to make. Yeah. That feels complete.
It does. It feels like we've come full circle.
Yeah.
I like it.
Awesome. Are we ending this right now?
Well, I think we have some weekly freaking guidance to go on, and we didn't even talk about the astrology. Astrologer.
Yeah. Let's look at some of the astrology that is happening.
Okay, well let me do the weekly guidance, and then you can look at that while I say this stuff. So basically we're looking at the week of June 5th. That's the Sunday to June 11th, which is a Saturday. So on Sunday, June 5th, the intuitive guidance. Okay, and actually I want to preface this with what I've been doing is I've been posting on Instagram all of the weekly guidance. So what you want to do is you want to go on there, follow the Cosmic Adults, and then you want to turn on post notifications so that you can get them. You can be alerted to when the post comes out because I do it in the morning. So then in the morning, you can be like, oh my God, this is the guidance for the day. And then you can flow through your day with all the beautiful energy that I'm channeling through these messages. Sound good? Sounds great. So the 5th, the Sunday, the guidance is oracle. The 6th, Monday, is spinning. The 7th, Tuesday, is light. The 8th, Wednesday, is soldier. The Thursday, the 9th, is evergreen. Friday, the 10th, is new life. And Saturday, the 11th, is reality. So if you are wanting the full meal deal, Instagram's where it's at. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Awesome.
So what's the weather like, Ian?
Okay. I mean, there's so much happening next week, this week that we're discussing, but Mercury is going direct. Finally, guys,
Oh
things.
my God.
So I gave the Mercury the Gatorade that it was
Yeah.
wanting and desiring, and now it's going direct. So all of the things that we discussed a couple of weeks ago are starting to move, the solutions are going to come, the disagreements and resolving of the situations, and these are going to happen. Now in the next, I would say, 3 weeks are the main events, but let's say the thick of it is, even before this episode airs, approximately on the third, fourth, or fifth, we can say that, so almost exactly on the date this episode airs. So lots coming your way, and we want Mercury direct usually, although I tend to like it now. I've learned to love it. I learned to get into the flow of the Mercury retrograde, and you can get a lot of work and good stuff done during the Mercury retrograde. For that, go listen to our previous episodes. Please, guys, there's so much information there. But one of the other bigger events that is happening is Saturn now. One of the biggest doers, shifters, makers in our realities and in our solar system is going retrograde on the 5th,
Oh
actually.
no.
And Mercedes is already freaked out about it.
Dude, what?
But Saturn goes retrograde every year for approximately, what is it, like 4 months? Let's say June, July, August, September,
Well,
October. So it's a lot of months.
Do you know why? Do you know why, Ian?
Because
Do you know
your
why?
Saturn return is happening.
I am smack dab in my Saturn return. So this means I'm actually getting 2 Saturn returns.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
In my mind, it does.
Okay.
Because it's going retrograde and then it's going back through and meeting Saturn in my chart again.
But yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, it's meeting, but like the return itself is not only the moment Saturn gets to that specific moment. I would say, it's still the long period of the 2.5 years. It's not only
do you
a
have
week.
advice? Do you have advice for people going through their Saturn returns?
Yeah.
Can you explain Saturn return and then give advice?
Well, Saturn return is what happens when you are approximately 28 and a half years old, and it starts when Saturn returns to the place where it was when you were born. This is the real gist of Saturn return. But when we're talking about material manifestations of Saturn return, this is the time when you're asked to mature in life. And our dear Mercedes here is really going through the thick of it. And to her credit, she seems to be taking it full on, head on, making things happen, making, decisions in her life, creating things, making things, being more serious about putting her efforts into let's say, things in life. It's a lot to do with work as well. And these are the decisions that you're making right now during your Saturn return that are going to influence for approximately the next 30 years. So make them good, guys, if you're going through it as well. And this is an important time when you come of age, obviously, but it's a good time to also have older mentors, especially the first Saturn return, to almost like guide you into your adulthood. And it's like almost like you're a little bit of an apprentice, but at the same time you're also coming into your own. So you're starting to see, okay, I can do this if I put in the efforts and I put in the time. I'm pretty good at these things. And these mentors will then guide you, and you will, let's say, become an adult and become masterful at something. And I'm making it a little bit too magical, because it's a lot of hard work as well, as
I was gonna say, do you become a cosmic adult?
basically.
Yeah, honestly, what I would say so far, it's been just a lot of work, and I'm exhausted, and you can't get enough sleep, and you can't get enough advice, and you can't get enough of the people around you, and you also want to hide in a hole and never talk to anyone, but you can't because you have so much going on in your life, and you have to juggle it all, and you have to like put all the pieces in place, and hopefully you've done a hell of a lot of work prior, so that when you get here, it's like not that bad. Like it's bad, but it's not even bad, but it's challenging, but it's challenging specifically for you and your own challenges, not just random challenges.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you really put it nicely, amazingly well.
Did I put my Pisces little spin on it?
I would say this was much more direct than I expected this Pisces Mercury to speak. It was very extremely direct. It's almost like a Aries Mercury or something.
Well, welcome to the new me.
I'm just joking,
Please
guys.
Enjoy. Okay, but talk about Saturn retrograde for the folks at home.
So Saturn retrograde, guys, it's a time where, first and foremost, before Saturn goes retrograde. Now we've been wherever Saturn is going retrograde is Aquarius. So wherever Aquarius is in your natal chart, if you have been properly doing the work, Saturn always wants you to do properly work, proper duties, proper responsibilities, not slacking off, just putting your head down and making things happen, working basically. And just taking on the responsibilities, duties on the chin, even if you don't want to do it. Now, if you have been doing that, Saturn, before going into retrograde, will actually give you some practical material results for that as well. So wherever that is happening for you, and we're going to discuss that in a second in a rapid fire. Let's do a rapid fire. That's where it's going to give you results. And the second part of this is, we're talking about personal things, manifestations. If you're interested in, let's say, more mundane astrology, go on my YouTube channel, my personal YouTube channel. There's a video on that as well. Another promo here, a little bit of a promo. But we're talking about...
I thought what you were going to say is, if you want mundane astrology, go listen to someone else.
No. I do mundane astrology as well, but like I enjoy both. I just like taking breaks from both of them. And in this case, we're going to be doing a little bit of a rapid fire prediction for all the signs, which I do very rarely on my own channel. So. And the second part about retrograde Saturn is now for the next, June, July, August, September, October, almost 5 months, we're going to be in Saturn retrograde. So what does this mean? It means it will be harder to use and channel the Saturn energy, which is being responsible, following routines, building foundations, doing work. And the let's say the positive side of this is some duties can be taken from you right now, and it can get a little bit easier. But the funky and real truth about this situation is that if you slack off now for these months too much, and you're just like, I'll do it later and blah blah blah, and start going into that too much, the freaking results that you're going to get after Saturn comes out of retrograde during autumn, October, are going to be crap, because Saturn doesn't give anything, literally anything. It can even take away if you don't put in the efforts. It's just like meh. And it can manifest in different ways, but I really urge you to put in the work still. It's not going to be maybe as much when Saturn is direct, but the point of Saturn is anyway working daily, working something daily towards something daily. And this is about a lot about dreams and goals and projects that are, let's say, more economic or societally related, because it's happening in Aquarius right now. And you need to be putting in the effort still. Maybe if it's only like 30 minutes a day, maybe it's only 30 minutes a day of working towards something, it's still better than nothing. But the problem with this is it's almost like harder to use and harder to be in that Saturnian energy of, okay, I'll do it, I'll do it. Saturn is like, you have to do it, and you're going to have to be your master. Or during autumn you're going to have to face the music, which is you know
To bring a little bit of personality to Saturn, if you recall, in like some of our first episodes, I think I don't remember if it was a Saturn retrograde or what, but no, there was some kind of conjunction, Uranus Saturn conjunction. I feel like, yeah, that was fun. Good times.
Uranus Saturn conjunction, did we?
Wasn't
that
it?
happened in 2032.
Oh, fuck. Okay. My bad. Anyways, we were talking about the two of them.
Saturn Uranus
a square. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Saturn is the grandfather that loves the shit out of you, and the grandfather that has a tool shed and has all the right tools and always has the tools for the job, and everything's labeled. And if you use some of the tools, you have to put them back exactly where you found them and promptly. And if you use the rest of something, you have to fill it back up and don't leave it for the next guy empty, and make sure that there's enough firewood and da, 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 da. This is grandpa. This is the grandfather.
This is Saturn, exactly.
That teaches you.
This is a little bit grumpy and a little bit strict.
A little bit. Like you don't like you kind of just like want to watch TV with grandpa, but you have to sit on the other couch.
Yeah, TV time is limited. Let's put it that way. With Saturn.
One show, the news.
Yeah, like 9:00 news, like, something like that.
Just dry.
Just very dry. But guys, okay, let's do a rapid fire of where this Saturn retrograde is going to affect you. Please remember what I just said about the actual manifestation of Saturn and what it's going to do. And I'm just going to give you the areas of where it will give you the results, or where you're going to have to put in the efforts, and afterwards get the results if you put in the efforts. So let's start this time with Aries to avoid the confusion.
I honestly think that the energy of Aries cannot stand
being last.
Like, and I think that that's why it creates confusion, because it's like, screw you, Ian, I'm gonna show you. Show you what happens if I go last.
Exactamundo. And for Aries, it's very, very clear. It's happening in the 11th house. It's in its own house. Aquarius is the 11th house for Aries, and for you, it's a lot to do with friends, networks, future goals, dreams, projects that you're working on. Bonuses. You might be working hard on a bonus, for example, and social networks. I already mentioned economic goals. Now for Taurus, it's happening in the 10th house. So it's about bosses, parental figures, workmates, career mission, working on those matters and putting your efforts in. And it's going to be a little bit of course, heavier there. for some, it might, mean that some of the duties will be relieved from you as well for at least some time. Now, for Geminis, it's happening in the ninth house. Is it happening in the ninth house? It's late here, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. Obviously, it's in the ninth house. And when it's happening in the ninth house, you might be working towards some sort of certification, or maybe you need to do some course or finalize, some exams, or working on your belief systems and the relationship with your father, for example, or mentor figures. Very often I see this, working towards some certification, or when you're in a teacher role yourself, you are the teacher who's preparing a course, for example, or something to do with foreigners that needs more of your efforts. For the cancers, it's happening in the eighth house, so it's a little bit of I would say, a difficult house to have it in. It's a lot about working to inside your internal wounds, or can be, doing your best to release these, heal these, but it's harder because it's Saturn. Now you might be facing some crises in life. You need to work harder on that to get out of that. And, some more material manifestations is like working more harder on taxes and insurances, and putting efforts there to get the results later on in autumn time. Now, for Leos, it's happening in the seventh house, which is a lot to do with clients and relationships and marriage partners and those types of things, and business partners as well. So we might be putting in a lot of efforts there, and now you're getting in results regarding those actions, and maybe you're working hard on your relationship, marriage, maybe you're even getting married during autumn time, but you need to prepare something for that time, or maybe you had a business partnership or expansions there, so you had a lot of duties, you put in the efforts, and now finally you get the results of those efforts, like maybe something good will happen, or a material, like, because remember, Saturn is the grandpa, so the results are like, can be, quote unquote good, but there is a dryness, and like there's a certain kind of dryness to those results at times as well. But in defense of Saturn, it does give literally practical material manifestation. So if you really put in the efforts, they can be good, actually. I just don't want too much downplay Saturn as well. So for the Virgo, Ascendant, Sun, and Moon, remember, guys, these are all for Ascendant, Sun, or Moon. For Virgos, it's happening in the sixth house. And sixth house is a lot to do with diets, routines, health routines, health in general, and work, and imbalances in life in general. So maybe in daily duties, if you have been working on some routine, maybe a diet, health routine, now you're starting, oh, I'm slimmer, my health is getting better, my muscles are coming out. But if you've been slacking off, it's like, maybe it's getting even worse. It can literally be this, because Saturn is also a reality check for you guys, and for us, and for whoever it is. It's a reality check to see where you're at. And if you've been slacking off, if you've been not doing the work, not going to get the best of results. For Libra natives, it's fifth house. So it's a lot about children. It's a lot about your creative projects. It's a lot about your business. It's a lot about the way you express yourself in general. It's also about the lovers and the romance. So if you've been having troubles there, or maybe less time for those things, and having fun is the fifth house. So if you've been having troubles to have that, now Saturn can lift for a moment, and you can have a little bit of more fun, but Saturn's still there. So you need to work on your business, most likely, or have duties with your children or romantic partners. But a big manifestation is you're going to be working on some sort of creative business project during the summer, and releasing it during autumn. Now, for the Scorpios. So for the Scorpios, again, is in the fourth house. So Saturn in the fourth house is a bit of a. We can see our friend Mercedes shaking her head because she knows what it is. Um, it's a bit of a heavier time there. Definitely, it's sometimes even hard to see. Emotional to feel happy, be happy. Can be some problems with family members when Saturn is transiting in the fourth house, and some of you might need to even put in efforts to relocate or to work on the house itself, maybe some fixing, maybe something that needs to be fixed there. You need to be putting efforts there to make it fixed and nicer and better. And generally, all the foundations in life we need to be safe, secure. This also means the vocation, the career. Also, putting in efforts there. Can be that manifestation. And I urge you, obviously, to look at that other side of the coin of like, what do I need to release and what do I need to let go, and how I even build emotional happiness in my life. It's a really important, these are questions to be asked. And very often when I see this in the fourth house, it's like some problems, wounds from the early childhood environment will come up to the surface to be fixed. Saturn is fixing these things, and you get the whole summer to do that. Yeah, awesome. Sagittarius. So Sagittarius has it in the third house. So Sagittarius, you will most likely be learning some new skill or perfecting a new skill that you have already learned, putting in efforts there, putting in efforts in business, putting in efforts in their sales, courses, selling or teaching or learning about these things. Yeah, some problems with siblings can sometimes crop up and you need to fix them, or with your neighbors, or even with your car that you need to fix. And can be a little bit of a negative time for Sagittarius, in the sense of, because when Saturn is in the third house, the thoughts can be a little bit very, very, very earthly, very practical for the usually high flying Sagittarius, and it can dampen their moods a little bit. Right now, still a bit of a transit there going on for you guys. Not saying it every day is going to be gray, but there is a seriousness and a dry humor about you guys for quite a while now. For the Capricorns, second house. Now, important house, obviously, in our material reality, it's the house of finances and money. So if you've been putting up and doing properly in your financial games, and taking stock, and Saturn can limit a little bit, if it's especially if it's alone in a house, can limit a little bit the finances. But if you've been managing them well, if you've been doing the budgeting, if you've been doing proper investing, not taking too many risks, tried and true risks, you can get actual pretty good results here. Saturn doesn't give overflowing, but Saturn gives the results if you've been putting in the work. Maybe you discovered like a budgeting error. Maybe you saw that you need to, let go of an expense, and now that money is, there in the bank account, and you can use it for something, practical and material. Saturn can actually, in the second house, do that. The second part is, possessions and material possessions there in the second house. You might be working towards something there as well. And your self-worth, what you're worth in the marketplace, is also under the microscope. It can be, you need to work on your worth, basically. You need to work on your self-worth for the summer. And now Aquarius is happening in the first house. So a lot of duties have come your way. If you've taken them on, properly, can see results in all areas of your life, and decent results in all areas of life. If you've been slacking off with these new duties, responsibilities, work that has been coming your way, can be not so good results. The second part about this is even working on your body. If you've been putting in too much efforts, almost Saturn in the first house can tire you as well, like literally tire the physical body out a little bit. So you need to remember when Saturn is in the first house, it's important to do a little bit every day. Otherwise, the energy can get a little bit lower, or the body can even like almost like break down because it's too much effort in. Now, for Pisces native, Saturn has been
Finally.
finally the
I'm just
Pisces.
kidding.
It's happening in the 12th house. So 12th house is it's kind of like a good thing also to have Saturn in. Yes, it can bring a certain kind of letting go of certain kinds of things like subconscious patterns, and it's like almost like you need to let go of some duties, responsibilities that you don't want to let go of. It's kind of like used to holding on to these things. It can be subconscious patterns, it can be outer duties in the real life that you've been kind of like holding on to because they make you feel safe, or you think that you need to do this, or these types of things. This is a time to really practice letting go, and they can return now, these things, during the summer, and you need to put more efforts in because it's harder to let go. You can make an argument that it might be a little bit easier to let go, but if you forget about these totally, I think it will just lead you again back into those same kind of patterns that you actually need to let go of. And if you haven't had the time to rest, like Mercedes here said a little bit, because Saturn in the 12th, it can make it that you literally need to make a practice out of your resting. What I mean by this is literally this is the time of the day where I rest. Saturn wants that. Saturn wants to organize it. And it's a weird combination there in the 12th house, because the 12th house is all about letting go, and just like, and Saturn is all about organizing, and it's like, which do I do? Which do I do? How do I organize letting go? How do I organize rest? How do I organize sleep? But it is Saturn wants you to organize sleep. Saturn wants you to make a schedule. Saturn wants you to make a routine out of this sleep thing for you to get better results. Same with the resting. Now, one of the manifestations also here can be just like putting in a lot of work and like behind the scenes work to prepare for something that is coming in the future. And because next year you're probably going to have to take on a lot of duties. I think that's it. Obviously, we can, if it's not a rapid fire, we could talk for ages, but I think at least I gave you a bit of a guidance, areas to focus on.
It was beautiful, and I think it was exactly what everyone needed. I know that it was what I needed to hear for sure. I feel privileged because I get to hear it first.
Yeah, you can start to use this.
Yeah, basically, I think one of the big lessons, the overarching themes here is like start interacting with your life. Don't be the leaf blowing in the wind, be the wind.
I really like that. Be actively engaged, guys. And remember, this is your life, not somebody else's. As much as maybe a lot of people in your life want to make it seem out to be, in the end it's still your life. It's your decisions. You have to live it. You have to be there when the lights are out, and you have to be when nobody else is around. So it's your life.
Mm-hmm. And what a gift.
A gift that keeps on giving.
Yep. All right, everyone, you know what to do. Follow us on all the stuff, Instagram, TikTok, blah, blah, blah. We got it all. Cosmic Adults.
Share, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe. I feel like such a phony saying like, share, and subscribe. But seriously, interacting with our content and with our stuff is really helpful, and we love chatting and talking with you guys because it's cool. This is really fun for us, and we want to keep doing it. Okay.
Peace out.
Peace. Jinx.